Yo, 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 what is going on, COD Familia? It is your boy BN, aka Mr. Kingdom Builder, and today is a day of days. Some may call this an impossible, unforeseen win, a victory. Something that the community can really rally behind and take away as we came together and made something happen, even though it wasn't in the most coordinated way. We're going to tell you what happened with this rally garrison test because there was an announcement from the CoD team that just came out, at least as of recording this, about two and a half hours ago. So as always, if you enjoyed the content, make sure you throw us up because it helps out a lot. So let's start off by giving you a little bit of an introduction into the video yesterday where we announced this rally and garrison test that was happening in 392. So it starts off by saying the test is intended to improve the user experience. The rally and garrison test is available to all players. During the test, alliance members can launch rallies against other alliances' buildings that border on their own alliance's territory. So at this point, we're figuring flags, forts, but not keeps. And can deploy legions to garrison their own alliance buildings as well, so you can attack and defend. And then, of course, they ask you to give feedback. Now, let's move to after we made the announcement for the video. Shortly after, a number of alliances, TFS, BXS, and a few, I'm sure probably others as well, via their Discords, put out announcements. And the announcements were advocating for going and upvoting or voting on suggestions if you felt a certain way. I put out a ping as well on my Discord. And the suggestion was initiated by Global. Again, as I've stated, you all know I'm very much a fan of having something that is professionally structured. So that way, or at least some semblance of structure, because it's just the way that the devs are going to read that, I just think that's very important. I think first impressions are very important, and those things can come across a lot better than if we're just kind of stringing together a wall of text. However, given there was already momentum building on this suggestion, I figured let's just go ahead and throw our support at this point, right? It's better than nothing at the end of the day. And really, a big part of it is seeing the amount of people that were able to vote for it, especially from the CoD team. I have to assume that that has to be a factor. So the suggestion, right, we signed up to play this game and invest so much into for the free healing and not rallying garrison every building to murder our troops, forcing moves for RSS, healing, and killing our troops for every flag in the game will make more players quit than want to play. Whew, just woke up. I cannot imagine the player base has been asking for more ways to kill our troops. Stop the testing and stop forcing us into game mechanics someone is asking for. So when you read this, the tone itself comes off a bit aggressive. But I should say, however, they do obviously hit probably the main core point of it all, right? Even though you might have to read into it a bit, it is there. It ends up getting, at least as of recording right now, 1,523 upvotes to 20 downvotes. So if you're minusing that, you're still 1,521. And that's just because each suggestion will always have one check and one X to start. That's just how the bot works. And so to get 1,500 suggestions in about 21 and a half hours, because remember, this was suggested at 11:09 yesterday. For me, it is 8:28 a.m. So that's been about 21 and a half hours, less than 24 hours and 1,500 upvotes. And now, that's a lot. That's a lot of upvotes. Now, keep in mind, this is what I would consider to be an uncoordinated effort. Because it wasn't as though, all the top alliance leaders got together, all the kings or queens got together, right? Which is really, if you're going to try and coordinate stuff, and that's one of the reasons why, I will say that is one of the reasons why I've been building out the King's Guard the way it is, which is basically anyone who's a king or queen of a kingdom, right, can reach out to me, they can join the Discord, and we'll get them added on there. It's one of the reasons why we have almost 125 top and active alliances across the game from Season 2 and beyond when we last pulled it for what we now are calling at the Round Table. But that is specifically for Alliance reps. The King's Guard is for kings and queens, right? Very similar to some other Discords that you may see have it, except I'd like to believe that our usage of those individuals and their engagement, there's a lot more ways to involve those people to where it really feels like being a king or queen, you have this opportunity to not only communicate and meet up with other kings and queens to build good rapport, but we can also hopefully enact some good positive changes through coordinated efforts. And so the fact that we got 1,500 upvotes on this in an uncoordinated way, more or less, is still really good, right? You really have to give some props to that. So now we get to the announcement that was just made at 6 a.m., which, as of recording this again, is 2.5 hours ago. Rally and Garrison test follow-up. Dino posted this. Dear Lords, recently we have initiated the Rally and Garrison test on selected servers. And we figured that this probably was more than 392. It's just, again, as I mentioned in the video yesterday, that's where the first one we saw it in. In Call of Dragon, with the intention of improving the in-game experience when launching rallies and garrisons. As the test proceeds, we have received numerous feedback and concerns in regards to the rally and garrison test. Thus, I like how they bolded this too as well. Thus, we will reconsider the mechanics in terms of rally and garrison for all buildings. However, since the removal of the test needs to be deployed along with future patch updates, with our cautious consideration, the rally and garrison test will end with patch 1.0.27, which, keep in mind, we are on 0.25. 0.26 will be coming out in mid-June, because they haven't stated otherwise, which means 0.27 will come out a month later in mid-July, providing corresponding full credit refunds to Lords of Dead units that died as a result of their participation in Rally and Garrison during the test. I actually like that, right? I like that they're willing to do that, especially because it's a test that incurs deads. If it was a test that just incurred savs, I actually wouldn't mind if they just said, okay, hey, we're just going to test that, that's no problem, or maybe they gave like a partial refund, whatever it may be. But because of the fact that it is incurring deads, I actually like the fact that they're kind of taking that step to do that. So this is pretty big. Now, I think there's a couple things that we should read into at the moment, because for me, when they say, thus we will reconsider the mechanics in terms of rally and garrison for all buildings, that to me I think is somewhat telling, because that can just mean that, okay, like for example, one of the suggestions that was also provided was, maybe instead of going deads, they should go sev woundeds, but then still allow for buildings to be rally and garrisoned, meaning flags and forts. So this way you still may enjoy this additional element of rallying and garrison just without the fact that you're going to incur deads. Or they lower the dead percentages from 35 and 55% for the attacker, 35% for the defender, respectively, to something a lot lower. Now, as you all know, I am very much, if you could not tell, based on the video I did yesterday, where we talked about the pros and cons, we showed you examples of rallying and garrison from Rock. I am just not a fan of rallying and garrisoning in general as it pertains to COD's foundational gameplay. The game has and always will be, hopefully, an open field game. And that has always been the primary focus. It's one of the reasons why I loved coming over. It's one of the reasons why I love watching so much PvP, because we get to see so much action going on in real time in the open field. And then you just get pockets of rallying. Personally, I don't see anything wrong with the way that the game is right now. I don't see people screaming from the rooftops saying that we absolutely need to add in rallying on flags and forts while you're in the open field, because all of a sudden that's going to take the game to some greater height level. I don't see that. Do I believe that? No, I don't. Now, is that also to say that rallying and garrisoning flags and forts should never be added to the game? I'm not saying that. But what I am saying is that, at least right now, there's nothing wrong with the game. And I don't believe that if they do add that, it's all of a sudden going to make it so hordes of human beings are going to be coming over from Rock or other games, right, just because of adding in that one mechanic. I just don't think it's that big of a thing. And again, there are pros and cons that come with adding that, right, regardless if it incurs deads or not. And again, we touched on some of those pros and cons as well in the previous video. So, all in all, I think this is a great win. I also want to give some due credit to the CoD team. Because I think when you come out with an announcement like this, it shows a couple things. But most importantly, it shows a willingness to accept, a willingness to learn, if you will, and to acknowledge what the community is looking for. Because it's not about us pushing something that we would like to see in the game, right, just to stick it to the devs or to the CoD team. No, it's because we love the game. It's because we want to play the game. We don't want to leave. We don't want the game to become something that causes us to stop playing. So when we suggest things, it is real, and especially when we suggest them with some form of a coordinated effort, right, if that ever ends up happening again, or even more than what was this time, it is because we want to see the best version of the game based on how the game started and where the game is going, right? And oftentimes you will see a number of suggestions that are not about taking the game to try to mimic Rock or try to mimic other kingdom builders. They are trying to invest into what the unique areas of CoD are, just like any game should. And that doesn't necessarily mean that there's not going to be some crossover, some common denominators, some similarities, i.e. something like a home kingdom. That is not an out-of-this-world type of suggestion, and for them adding it in, that's actually a core common denominator, great feature of the game that allows for more community building outside of just a single alliance. And there's a number of other things we touched on in the video yesterday and in previous videos where we've talked about why adding in something like a home kingdom has a lot of value if it is done right. And that is something that you will see in traditional kingdom builders. However, I still take this as a win, as I've stated, and I also want to applaud the community. The fact that so many people took time out of their day to vote for this, for anyone that potentially submitted feedback. If you made an account in 392 and you did that, we appreciate it. And I think this is something that really speaks to the community's engagement, speaks to the flame, if you will, the fire that we have to want the game to be the best version of itself. And so for me, I don't know, this is great. You know, if I wasn't so tired right now in the morning, I would probably be shedding some tears of excitement and enjoyment and just fulfillment, appreciation, right, to be here in this moment and to see the fact that there were so many people that answered that call. And then at the same time to see that the CoD team respected that enough to say, you know what, there's a lot of people that are coming out and supporting this, and we recognize that. We see you, we hear you, and we are going to respond accordingly. And so I think this is great on both sides. And hopefully this can be the start of us maybe trying to come together for some coordinated efforts in advocating for things that we would love the devs to see and to consider. And so again, if you are a king or queen of a kingdom, please reach out to me in DMs. We've already started adding a number of people to our King's Guard. And then again, if you are a member of a top and active alliance and you want to get in on our round table, you're more than welcome to. Please feel free to reach out to me on Discord. It's usually the best way, so I can get you added in for that. I'd love to hear what you guys think. Do you take this as a win? Are you still a little skeptical? Are you like, that's cool, but I just really wanted to see rallying garrisons? Let me know what you think. If you agree, you disagree. Would love to hear what you have to say in the comments down below. That is going to do it for me. As always, until next time, we'll catch you later.